Welcome to Walker Acres. I'm Jackie.
And I'm Linda.
We are a mother-daughter duo who have decided to move on to some acres of land. We've told you how we got here. Now we just want to talk about the process a little bit of once we made that decision, what did we do? What was the next step? So I'll start off talking about, like our initial next step, and then, you can chime in with whatever you feel like I've missed or what have you, and then give your perspective. So the week that I brought this up to my mom, I think it was like a Sunday. I don't know what it was. It was like a Sunday. It was before her birthday and my son's birthday. Anyway, so her birthday is in the middle of July, and my son's birthday is 5 days later. So it was the week of her birthday that the idea came to me. And once we talked about it, I talked about it with my son. He was like, talked about it with his wife. He was like, yeah, okay. So at that point, we were still looking for 10 acres of land because that had been the point, the number that had been decided. And I told my son that, well, I would like to have 3 acres, so that we can build my mom and I can build our homestead, and then they can build theirs. And he was like, okay. So we began the process. We'd already been looking at properties. We had already gone to visit properties. I had, just joined along with my son and his wife, and looked at a few properties with them. And my mom would just, ask us about the property. She was still very reluctant to see the okayness with with buying some raw land in the middle of nowhere and building a house. There were so many questions.
There's just questions that were not answered. My whole thing was, I like to be close. I'm a family person. I like to be close to family. But I was trying to conceptualize the whole idea about the living on the raw land. So I was reluctant to go on visits and etc. So I would just let them go on their visits, and they come back and they tell me about it. And I was trying to conceptualize it. It was not happening for me. Eventually, it got to the point where, I wanted to see what it was that they were talking about because I could not visualize it at all. I'm totally a city girl. I'm a baby boomer city girl. Okay. So start riding with them, and
I don't think you went on any rides with them.
I did.
Did you?
I went on a couple of rides. And
before I brought the idea to you? No.
No. Everything happened.
No, so before I brought the whole idea to her about us building a house on the land, she had never been on any rides. I had gone on a couple of rides with my son and our daughter-in-law. And so when she said yes, and I was like, okay, I'm going to propose this to my mom about us building a house on the land, the Simba Day land purchase. And I don't know if she's going to receive it. I said, but we're going to see, because I pretty much in an instant made up my mind that is what I was going to do. And I just thought it would be a good idea at this stage of life, late 50s, early 70s, for us to consider living together, just for the sake of not only just cost, but just also as far as care is concerned, to watch after one another. Because like I said, we live 10 minutes away from each other. My mom was always coming over to my house to visit with the kids and me and my daughter. And so it was like, okay, we're living in these 2 separate places. We're paying these 2 separate mortgages, but we're still spending a good amount of time together. So it might be good for us just to, buy a house together. I'm not married. She's not married. And so why not? And so that's when I posed the question to her, I knew that the drawback would be, well, I felt like the drawback would be, well, I don't want to live out in the country in the middle of nowhere. And when I mentioned it to her, what was your response?
I said, okay.
It was just that simple. I was like, Well, okay, okay. Let me talk to Silva. And so, what at that point made you say, okay?
Well, because I had always, conceptualized the idea of putting a tiny home in your backyard, and you were reluctant to that, and then you were considering to move out into the country with the rest of my family. And so it just made sense for me to come along because I am a family person. And so I said, well, I've been trying to get rid of my house for a good while. Um, why not go ahead and sell my house and just jump on this bandwagon? And here we are.
All right,
Okay.
so now that we have the buy-in, and my son and my daughter-in-law are good with this, so we immediately, and when I say immediately, because this was like on a Sunday or Monday,
We took
I wish I
action.
had documented the date of the calls, but it was like on a Sunday or Monday when I made the call to my mom and talked to my son, and on that Friday, which was her birthday, we went to visit a lot that is just 3 lots over from where we are right now, because that had been a lot that my son and his wife had looked at, and I believe we had already driven out here and looked at the lot. So we drove out here, looked at that lot, and then a couple of other lots, and this was her first time coming along. And what was that experience like for you?
Well, initially, I was still in shock because of the raw land aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were driving down off of the main highway to where we're located now, I was like, what in the world is my daughter and my grandson thinking about? And, but, we got to the property and I started visualizing the things that, both my daughter and my grandson, were had in their mind about development of the property, and I was able to see the picture, and from that point on it was just, let's go, let's get it done.
So you really felt like that
Hmm.
by coming out and actually seeing things, because that's what I had to do. I asked, well, I really didn't ask a lot of questions of my son and my daughter-in-law. I would listen to them talk. So I allowed them to share. I'm like, so tell me what it is that y'all are trying to do. And then I would listen. And then as they talked and I listened, I would go out to social media. I would search. Well, actually, I went to Google and I searched up, I think, Barndo, shop living, things like that, because they said they want to build a shop and then slowly build on their Barndo. And I was like, build a shop, live in an RV, all that kind of. So I put those keywords into Google and searched them, and Google brought up a whole bunch of stuff, YouTube, TikToks, and it was mainly on TikTok that I was scrolling through, and I saw a lot of people lived in their travel trailers and built a shop, a large shop where they can pull their travel trailer in there and have a space where you can work, do work, handiwork, have your equipment and your tools and things like that. But a lot of people, what they do is that they actually build, they buy their land, build a shop, live in their travel trailer, whether they park it inside the shop or not, but use the shop as a place to live while they're
Hmm.
building their forever home. And I had just never heard of that concept until my daughter-in-law and my son mentioned it to me. And as I listened to them and I searched and found the information, I was like, oh, okay, I see how this is doable and I see where they're going. I get the concept. I can really buy into it. And that's the thing I think that helped me um, be open to the fact that, okay, well, if I'm going to have a little mother-in-law home, why don't I just have a home on their land and bring everything to life and let us grow and stay together as a family on land and continue just to build. And so my mom would ask me questions about, well, why didn't want to this? What about that? This or that? Whatever, whatever. And I'm like, well, what I did is I searched. I encourage you to search the internet and social media so that you can see what people are doing to understand what Simba and Daylin were looking to do for their family. And so, but getting back to once got the okay from her, and we immediately started going on trips to look at land. Like I said, we went on her birthday. Well, actually, it was the day before your birthday, because on your birthday
We
we
went to
went.
look at RVs.
Yes, so it was the day before her birthday that we actually, my son, my mom, and I, we actually went out and looked at a few properties, and so she got the hang of it and was slowly coming around to everything. And then on her birthday, we actually went and looked at RVs because we knew that at that point we were going to sell our homes. We knew that there was going to be a process to building the house, buying the land and building the house. And so we knew that we needed the money as well. So we needed to sell our homes to have the money to do to begin the process of what we wanted to do. So we knew that in the meantime we would have to live somewhere. So we had planned to, I had planned to buy an RV or a travel trailer, and because I always wanted a coach RV. I looked at this show on HGTV years ago, and I was like, I want a big coach travel RV, and I want to travel across the United States and all that kind of stuff. I always wanted to do that. So I knew I was going to end up buying a travel trailer. My son and his wife, that's what they did when they sold their house. They bought a travel trailer. And I said, okay, I'm going to do the same thing. We'll live in the travel trailer until our house is built. And then I'll be able to keep the travel trailer to travel like I want to do across the United States. Now I just need to buy a truck to go with it. All right. So after we went and looked at RVs, I mean, me and my mom, let me tell you, when she said yes, we were running. Okay, we were running, and I think it caught my son and my daughter-in-law off guard. I think it caught everybody off guard, really, because it was like our modes switched from just being okay, listening to them, to oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this, and we were on go. And so Thursday we looked at land with my son. Friday we went to look at RVs, and on Saturday, because my son and his wife went on a birthday trip for him and left the girls with us and their Yukon. So so we hopped in that Yukon on Saturday morning. I'm telling you, like 8 o'clock Saturday morning,
and we were gone.
And we were gone all day. We probably didn't get back home till about 8 o'clock. We were gone all day. We traveled down all sorts of country roads. We saw all sorts of property. We went to cities we'd never heard of. we saw people who were probably surprised to see us. I don't know. What did you think about that time we were traveling on that Saturday?
Well, it was eye opening, but you know, we were on the hunt and we were looking for the right property, and we were crossing out what we don't want.
Yeah,
and we were refining our list of do's and must-haves, and looking for properties. And we had a list. We crossed that one out, crossed that out, crossed that out. We kept going down the list until we found the right property.
Right, and the right price point. So that's the key thing too. We had the 10 acres was our point of reference. So we were always looking for 10 acres, 10 acres, 10 acres. And we had a property, the property. So we had the property, the ideal property. Like I said, it's 3 lots over. It's a corner lot. And that was the point. But the thing is that the price point was not where we needed it to be. So we always kept an open mind about maybe there are other properties that are at the price point that we like. And we're also looking at location because this is not the ideal location. We really wanted something that was closer back to where we lived because my daughter-in-law's family lives close by where I lived, and she has a big family and they're close, and so it was key to keep her close to her family as well. And so ideally we would like something that's probably 30 minutes back closer to our house move from, but price wise and availability which it just didn't work out. I mean, there was one property I could say that might have been the closest to being ideal, um, but it was just that community was just not the community for
Mm-mm.
us. Um, so we were looking, although we had like the ideal property in mind, which is just 3 lots over. We still wanted to look and see what else was out there and just explore. But I think for us, just to eliminate
Mm-hmm.
things and also just to explore the opportunities. I think what was key for me is developed roads.
Mm-hmm. That was number one.
Yeah, developed roads, and another thing was the neighbors. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
surrounding environment. When you get into rural areas, people can live kind of trashed out lives
Yes.
because nobody's around to regulate,
Mm-hmm.
and so you just want to be mindful of those kind of environments and what long term do you want to be exposed to that, or what are you looking for. But that Saturday trip, I think, really broadened our perspective of getting land and really got the juices flowing for us, for looking future wise at what we really wanted to do and where we wanted to be. You just gonna lay the chair up there. That's plenty over here with me.